before I dive into why this high sugar diet can work so well and why it seems to be working so well on people, and some of these guys that are high performers like me are eating 400 to 500, sometimes 600, 700, 800 grams of carbs a day, and they're still getting leaner eating that many carbs. So this is how high their body is burning. And of course, this leads to energy levels that's making them move more as well. So their NEAT goes up. They want to work out more because their energy goes through the roof. So the first thing is to get rid of the false belief that carbs make you fat. So here are 3 real life examples, and then I'll share how I'm eating on this diet and why it works so well. So the first one is Chris Voigt from the Washington State Potato Commission, okay? Now, they tried to remove potatoes, or they did remove potatoes from the school lunch program in Washington State, and he was the head of the Potato Commission, so he got pissed and he protested and he ate nothing but potatoes. 20 potatoes a day for 60 days in a row, okay? This was his results. You can see here he lost over 20 pounds. His starting glucose, cholesterol, triglycerides, and blood pressure all ended outstanding. The guy was eating nothing but 20 potatoes a day for 60 days in a row. So I love this one example because it's not just me cherry picking a study to substantiate a claim that I'm making because I'm biased to carb cycling, because I am biased to carb cycling. I just try to keep an open mind with everything. It's like I say, like, hey, if you can live on keto and paleo or carnivore, more power to you. I just think it's silly to think that you're never going to eat carbs again. So you just might as well incorporate it so that you can build a lifestyle of leanness instead of following these stupid diets that end up ultimately ending up with 94% of people regaining all or more of their way back. So that's example number 1. The second example is the blue zones. And these are the areas of the world where more people live to 100 than anywhere else in the world. And most of them have a very high carb diet. So I'll pull up the Okinawa one really quick. They're the perfect example because you can see here 67% of their diet is sweet potatoes and 12% is rice. Most of their diet, 70% of their diet comes from high carb foods. But they live longer, they have less disease, and they are leaner than the rest of the world. Okay, so on a high carb diet. Now, they're probably walking and more active than we are, and they're not eating shit out of a box. Let's be clear here, right? This is stuff like sweet potatoes and rice. Very good fruits, very good sources. But again, it goes to prove the fact that carbs are not responsible for obesity or diseases. Now, I have one more example, and this is the diabetic study, okay? And this really puts the nail in the coffin, because what they did is they took 2 groups of diabetics and they gave one group high carbs and one group low carbs. Now, here's the context that you need to understand, that protein and calories were created equal with both groups. So they're both consuming the same amount of calories and the same amount of protein, but one group was high carb, one group was low carb. So at the end of that study, you would think that the high carb group, especially being diabetics, it would have been a freaking fat storing nightmare or a health nightmare. But if you look, the health outcomes were almost identical if we look at this, right? Both groups achieved similar completion rates. The weight, blood pressure, fasting glucose, and cholesterol all had the same results from high carb versus low carb because calories and protein, again, were created equal. So I want to just drive this point home. Stop being a carbophobe, okay? You do not need to be afraid of eating carbs. It's just that when you eat lots of carbs, you want to keep fats to a minimum. That's the secret that most people miss. It's all about keeping fat in the basement, okay? So let's talk a little bit about some context. Then I'll share how I'm eating morning, pre-workout, post-workout, nighttime. And this morning I had a bowl of blueberries with table sugar and honey. And then I took a half an apple, drizzled some honey and sugar on that. And then I had 6 ounces of tart cherry juice. So what am I going to eat next? Well, I'm going to have 2 pieces of fruit before my workout. Probably a half hour to 45 minutes. I'll probably have a banana and an apple. That's going to be my pre-workout. So 0 fats and 0 protein for my first 2 meals of the day. All sugar, okay? Then post-workout, now I'm going to start bringing in protein, but it's all going to be super lean protein sources. So here's my typical day. AM berries with honey or sugar or fruit, right? 3 to 4 hours later, 2 pieces of fruit, pre-workout, and then I'm going to go right into lean meat or fish with starch. Okay, so I'm going to have a starch. If you are very overweight and not active, you probably want to forego this starch and just stay with sugars from fruits and other sources that are faster releasing than starches, because starches could slow down the fat loss if you're not a high performer and you don't exercise intensely. I'm going to bring in rice, potatoes, and root vegetables for my dinner with lean protein. So we talk about protein sources being low-fat meds, right? So I always talk about get your meds in every meal: meat, eggs, dairy, and seafood. So we want lean meat, we want egg whites, we want low to no fat dairy, and seafood out the ass. I mean, shrimp, scallops, stuff like that, zero fat in that stuff, all pure protein. Salmon obviously has a little more fat, but. And then dessert after dinner, I'll have a low-fat protein shake or pudding with fruit added to it, or I might even have like Frosted Flakes with whey protein powder and water dumped over top of it. Every single night, I'll have that, and I'm just gonna see what happens here over the next couple of weeks, and then maybe I'll have low-fat Greek yogurt or cottage cheese as well. And so pre-bed, if I'm still hungry, I'm gonna go ahead and snack on some sugary treat that has low fat in it. So low-fat Taleni ice cream or low-fat sherbet, believe it or not. I don't know if I spelled this the wrong right way. There it is, sherbet. So carb sources are all fruits, potatoes, rice, peas, carrots, beets, oats. Again, we want to stay more with fruits if you have a lot of weight to lose. I'm already around 12% body fat, so I'm just going to use this diet to try to get me under 10%. And then protein sources are low-fat meds, like I mentioned. Now, the whole idea of this plan is that I'm still going to hit around 150 grams of protein a day. I'm just going to be backloading that protein. So instead of carb backloading, I'm going to protein backload. I'm going to have all my protein in the afternoon, and before bed, I'm going to try to hit around 150 grams. And doing that with just eating meat or no to low-fat dairy can be hard. So definitely going to be having at least one protein shake a day, because it's just going to make it easier for me to hit my mark to protect that lean muscle. Now, the other thing that happens, because you're backloading protein with sugary carbs, glycogen's always full. So if you want to wake up and train fasted, you're going to feel like $1,000,000 because you're not carb depleted from being on keto or paleo. That's the problem with these diets, is they have so much fat in it, it's hard to bring in starches without fat storage. And of course, this can affect overall performance. I mean, there are the genetic freaks out there that can run solely on ketones and go right into ketosis and live like a super disciplined life. But at the end of the day, for 95% of us, that shit is not sustainable. None of us are ever going to be able to adhere to that. And then the problem happens too with this insulin sensitivity issue. You do it for extended periods of time, and now when you do want to bring carbs back in, you're effed because you screwed up your insulin sensitivity, because now your cells are so insensitive to glucose. Again, I'll share more about this in future videos. If you got something out of this, do me a favor, hit a like, share the love, drop a comment if you have questions. Thanks for watching, and God bless.